You're listening to Fox City's Murder and Mayhem, your bi-weekly dose of true crime history in a small rural community of Wisconsin.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fox City's Murder and Mayhem. I'm Eric.
I'm Gavin.
And Gavin, we are back again, and Gavin is talking in a very, very manly voice.
Yes, I am feeling very manly today.
So, we are back again, and we're doing an Eric episode, right?
We are. Yep.
Which is shocking.
Yep, we got two Eric episodes coming up, and this is one of them.
And we're going to kick this off. I'll tell it what little I know about this story. So, apparently, I believe we came to, Gavin, you've confirmed that this is my grandpa's aunt. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And where was she from again? Where did this all, Necedah? This
is in Necedah, yeah.
Yes, and she could apparently see the Virgin Mary.
Correct.
Or speak to the Virgin Mary or
Correct.
Something.
Yes.
So, a little bit out of the Fox Cities, but we just
it's relevant.
It is relevant,
it's
so
relevant.
It does fall within their range. So,
yeah.
So, but we just, my mother told me about this story, and I felt like nobody else is going to do this story, and this really needs to be a story that needs to be told. So,
yeah.
Am I missing anything crucial before we get started?
No,
that's Gavin.
I mean, that's pretty much it.
So,
I'm going to give you this sheet for your reference.
So this is going to be a genealogy sheet of how this works.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Okay, so
does that make sense?
Yeah, so who is the actual person we're talking about?
So on the right side of that chart, that is the woman's husband.
The right side of the... Oh, Godfred?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, because you're not related to her. She's married into the family.
Okay.
So that's the person... That's her husband.
Okay, gotcha. All right. And look at that, I even see my parents on here.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Gavin even put me on here. How cute.
Well, of course, I wanted to show you how you were connected there. So, yes, this is the Necedah Shrine, which still exists. It's still there. So, this is an active thing.
Where is Necedah?
Oh, that is hard to explain. It is sort of the center west of the state.
Okay, is there a notable city that it's near then?
I don't think so. Let's say you went to Stevens Point and you kept going west.
Okay.
That's probably not even very accurate, but I'm trying to
mention
a bigger
like Wisconsin Rapids area, sort of.
Sure.
That would be Wednesday.
I mean, it's not
West, right?
It's not really by anything.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so people will just have to look it up. It's not Fox Cities, but we're going to make this episode Fox Cities. We're going to do it anyway. So, July 31st, 1909, Mary Ann Bieber was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. She was baptized Catholic, but was not raised Catholic. Her childhood was an unhappy one, apparently, and she was repeatedly beaten by her father. Several later messages she would receive from the Virgin Mary would talk about her abuse. One message, the Virgin Mary said that she was an unhappy child, always abused and misunderstood. So the Virgin Mary spoke to her and said, I understand, you had it rough, but I'm here to comfort you now.
Mm-hmm.
The family moved to Kenosha, where Mary Ann, who is the focus of our episode, received a 5th grade education. Her mother, Elizabeth, was a Hungarian immigrant and was a member of the local spiritualist group in Kenosha. Mary Ann reportedly participated in seances that were held in a spirit cabin in the home's basement.
Nice.
I don't know what a spirit cabin is, but spiritualists were people who, I guess they still are, but it's not a thing like it used to be. People who would talk to the dead, and Mary Ann's mother was active in that group.
Okay.
Later rumors would say that Mary Ann's mother was also a witch growing up in Hungary, but I don't know if there's any way to confirm that, so whatever.
You could throw her in the water and see if she floats.
Yeah. Marianne moved to Philadelphia at age 18. I guess moved back to Philadelphia because she was born there. Moved to Philadelphia at age 18 to live with an aunt briefly, worked as a waitress. She fell in love with a Philadelphia man named Charles Worrell, and they had a child, James. She later claimed that she received a marriage license from someone that the couple believed to be a justice of the peace, but they learned the man was not a justice of the peace, and they had never actually been married. The couple separated, and Marianne moved back to her family in Kenosha.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So they're like, wait a minute, we never actually got married?
Yeah.
Well, let's just call this whole thing off then.
Yes. That is apparently how that went. 1934, so Marianne would be 25. She answers an ad for a housekeeper placed by Fred Van Hoof in the Wisconsin Farmer and Agriculturalist. So apparently she's reading the Wisconsin Farmer and Agriculturalist. Fred, his name is Godfred, but he goes by Fred.
Okay.
Fred hired her as a housekeeper, and 4 months later, they were married.
Wow.
Yes.
And that didn't take long at all.
It's a good housekeeper. Yeah. They were married at a Catholic church in Kaukauna. The priest there was suspicious. He didn't think that Marianne actually was Catholic and probably shouldn't have been married in the church, but she had been baptized, so he let it slide. The Van Hoofs would have 7 children, and Marianne's mother Elizabeth moved in with them. September 21st, 1935, Fred auctioned off his 110-acre dairy farm at Kaukauna, including 26 cattle, 5 horses, and the machinery. See, this is Fox Cities episode.
This is a heavy Fox Cities episode,
Yeah.
and it's featuring our favorite city,
Yeah.
which is Kaukauna.
Yeah.
So
At the time of the sale, he was still paying off a $7,000 mortgage. The Van Hoofs moved with Elizabeth to Missouri, where they worked as sharecroppers. Marianne disliked her husband's family, who she called those damn Catholic farmers, and wanted to move as far away from them as possible. The move failed. The family fell into debt and starvation. The children sometimes would go weeks without any solid food. They eventually purchased a 142-acre farm in Necedah, back in Wisconsin, but still far enough away from Kaukauna that Marianne didn't have to see those damn Van Hoofs. In fact, Marianne purchased the farm in Necedah without Fred's knowledge. His brother Henry owned a creamery in Hurley, Wisconsin, and helped get them out of debt. And it was expected that Fred would take up work in Hurley at the creamery. So he didn't even know that he had purchased the farm until Marianne told him. The Necedah farm turned out to be a scam. The dealer sold it to them cheap in the winter, and then when the spring came around and the snow melted, they found that mostly the farmland was just sand.
What?
Pretty fun stuff. Finally, we kind of get to where we're going here. November 1949, Marianne had a vision of a tall female figure entering her room and standing by her bed. She was initially terrified, thinking that this might be a ghost, but her husband Fred said what she described sounded like the Virgin Mary. A couple months later, Fred's sister, Ardine Van Hoof Green, died. This would be your great-grandmother.
Okay.
After the funeral, while all the family members were out drinking, the family discussed visions of Virgin Mary that had recently happened in the Philippines. Some would later suspect that this conversation is where Marianne would pick up some inspiration. I don't know, like, what the deal is with it. I mean, this I looked it up. The Virgin Mary appearing in the Philippines was a really big deal at the time. Like, this is a real thing.
Okay.
I think it's amusing that after the funeral, they're all like, let's all go drink and talk about Catholic stuff. Apparently, the Van Hoofs were a very Catholic family. So, 4 days after the funeral, Mary Ann saw a glowing crucifix in her room. She heard Mary's voice, who told her to go to the local priest, with a request that everyone be directed to recite the rosary every evening at 8 p.m. The Virgin Mary announced that she would appear again, where and when the flowers bloom, trees and grass are green. The voice also said that Fred's niece, who was in the Mendota State Hospital, was not actually mentally ill, but was possessed by the devil. And if the Van Hoof family would treat Mary Ann better, she would be cured.
Wow.
The niece never left the hospital. A month later, Mary Ann experienced her first actual vision of Mary. Not just shadows, not just voices, full vision. The site of the vision was a group of 4 ash trees, which has become known as the sacred spot. Mary promised to return the next 2 days, and then again on June 4th, June 16th, August 15th, and October 7th. On June 4th, 28 people arrived at the farm to witness Mary Ann's vision. The house was described by those who arrived there as deplorable and filthy. It had no running water, and the children were described as looking like they had not bathed in months.
So I'm confused right now. People are coming to see, like, she claims that Mary comes to this place every so often, and people are gathering to see Mary?
Yeah, so on May 28th, 1950, Mary says she's going to come back to this spot on June 4th, June 16th, August 15th, and October 7th. She let local people know. So on this first one, June 4th, about 28 people show up to see.
Okay.
Nobody actually sees it,
right?
But they show up to see her see it.
Okay, and Mary claims to see her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
On June 15th, so maybe a week after that, a team of priests go to Mary Ann's house. They asked to see her glowing crucifix. The crucifix did not glow. They went back to the local bishop and were very skeptical of her claims. June 16th, which is supposed to be the next time, 1,500 people.
Wow!
Go to the Van Hoof farm to see the vision.
See, now I'm going to be honest with you. When you started this, I was expecting the first one to be the peak. Was the most people that were going to show up.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Okay.
After that day, some of the people who went there announced that they had been cured of diseases. 6 people tried to get close enough to see better, and they gathered on top of the cellar door, which collapsed from them standing on it. The local priest was actually very supportive of Mary Ann and had guards put in place at the home to keep out strangers. No one there claimed to see or hear anything besides Mary Ann, who said, "She came again, just like the other times I knew she would. I saw the same light, and she was there, and she spoke to me." So everyone sees her interacting, but nobody sees the Virgin Mary besides Mary Ann.
Okay.
Henry Swan, president of the Necedah Chamber of Commerce, organized pilgrims into a group called the Necedah Committee to promote the visions. Benefactors built toilets and kneeling rails around the sacred spot, as well as a statue of the Virgin Mary. A hand-carved cross from Italy was put on a bluff overlooking Necedah. John Horning, a businessman from Milwaukee, purchased 60 acres north of the Van Hoof farm to provide parking for people coming to visit the sacred spot.
Wow. And you're telling me that the spot still exists today?
Yeah, it's there.
Wow. Okay.
Before the next vision, the Necedah Committee distributed 176,000 brochures announcing this spot, and the Chamber of Commerce purchased radio ads to promote it. Throughout July 1950, Necedah made preparations for 10,000 people to visit the city. They had expected the next vision was going to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Appleton attorney Gus Keller, was in charge of publicity for a group in the Appleton area called Tell the People, which was arranging food and lodging for travelers. The bishop out of La Crosse released a statement saying, investigation of alleged apparitions at Necedah has produced as far as possible. For the present, the church is not in a position to make any pronouncement. Printed accounts of the alleged apparition are entirely without authorization by the church. Much of the publicity connected with these events is spurious and regrettable. The numerous privately circulated accounts are to be discredited as valueless. In short, even though the local priest is a friend of Marianne's, the bishop thinks this is a bunch of nonsense.
Okay.
So, Necedah is in the La Crosse diocese. So the people where we live, we're in the Green Bay diocese, where Necedah is in La Crosse diocese because it's on the western half of the state.
Okay.
So the bishop in La Crosse oversees all that, and yeah, he's like, this is a bunch of hooey.
So basically, he's saying like don't listen to anything that's coming out of this because it's all fake.
Right.
It's basically
right.
Okay.
The bishop specifically issued a statement discouraging Catholics from attending any of the visions. His announcement did not seem to have worked.
Because I can't even imagine what the number is going to be like on the next one.
For example, Holy Cross Catholic Church in Kaukauna chartered 3 buses to take their members there. August 15th, 1950, it was estimated 100,000 people gathered to see the visions.
This is not real.
This is real. This is real.
100,000 people went and saw a lady talk to somebody that they couldn't actually see.
Yes. 100,000 people went, including reporters from Newsweek, Time, and the New York Times.
Oh my God.
Nobody besides Marianne saw anything, but Marianne would bless the rosaries of people who had gathered there.
I know you said this, but what time frame are we in right now?
1950.
1950, okay.
2 days after this vision, the Bishop of Green Bay spoke to the Knights of Columbus in Kaukauna, and he scolded them for their support of Marianne. He reminded them, "Blessed are they that have not seen and have believed. Need Christ be crucified in every generation, that every generation might see his wounds, hear his words, and witness signs and wonders?" He goes on for some time. It'll be online. Mm-hmm. But basically, his thing is a true believer in Jesus and Mary would not need to go to a place where there's alleged visions. They should just accept that, they have faith in it. Mm-hmm. And instead of taking some random person's word for it, that they're talking to an invisible person. So yeah, the bishop in Green Bay isn't any happier about it than the bishop in La Crosse.
And I'm curious, so do we know, does this priest that Mary knows still support her even after his bishop clearly came forward and said he does not support it?
He does, but that's the very next thing on this timeline here.
I set you up perfectly, I guess.
You set me up perfectly. So after this very large one with all the news coverage, the bishop transferred the local priests in Necedah to a town called Wurzburg in Wisconsin. I have no idea where Wurzburg is, but it's apparently 75 miles away from Necedah.
Okay.
The bishop did not want a priest who was supporting her to still... He didn't say you can't be a priest anymore, but he's like, you're not going to be a priest in this town.
We need to put an end to this, and you're not helping.
Yeah.
So,
October 7th was supposed to be the final public appearance. It wasn't as big as the August one, but still 30,000 people showed up. This one was believed to have dropped off because now it wasn't just the bishop saying don't go. It was the cardinal who's above the bishop saying don't go. The cardinal at the time, actually a very famous cardinal, a man named Samuel Stritch. You might have heard of Cardinal Stritch. He specifically said, do not go. And he was apparently much more influential than the bishop because buses that had been chartered to go were canceled and fewer people did go because of it.
Stupid question, and you probably don't know the answer to this. Do you understand, like, how does the hierarchy work? Like, so is like a cardinal, is there a cardinal for the state of Wisconsin, or do you know that?
I think there is now. This cardinal is out of Chicago. He might have been the top guy at the time.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that there's a cardinal in Milwaukee now.
Okay.
I could be very wrong on that.
Okay.
But
so it's safe to say, like, probably right now there's a cardinal per state, per se. And if you have maybe a really
not
large...
necessarily. I mean, it would depend how Catholic your... I mean, Wisconsin's more Catholic than other states is, but...
Okay. That's fair, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it would depend. There are not 50 cardinals in the United States. Yeah.
Okay.
After the final vision, Mary Ann started reporting that she was experiencing stigmata. People who don't know what stigmata is, this is when you start getting like bloody wounds on your hands and feet in the same places that Jesus would have got when he was crucified.
Yep.
So now she's starting to get these bloody wounds. This was interpreted by some people as penance for those who did not heed the Virgin Mary's message. So Mary Ann had to now suffer for the people who did not listen to her. People reported seeing her have convulsions and then collapse to the floor and then lay there with her arms outstretched like she was on a cross. The stigmata would continue through the following year. By the following spring, she also announced that she could no longer eat solid food and had to live off of liquids alone. This is a thing called in-adia, and I'm probably saying that wrong. But this is like a sign of sainthood. Apparently, if you're a saint, you don't need to eat food. Mm-hmm. So her now no longer needing to eat food is like a sign that she's been elevated to saint level.
Okay.
The bishop sent Van Hoof a letter ordering her to take down the statues in her yard affiliated with her shrine and to stop spreading out literature about her visions. Mary Ann refused. She said, I'm a free American citizen. This is my own property, and I'll do what I wish. The bishop asked Mary Ann to go to Marquette University for a 10-day medical exam. She agreed to this.
Okay.
The results of the test convinced the church authorities that Mary Ann was a fraud. Her head, arms, and hands were bandaged, and sharp objects were taken away. Once she no longer had the ability to poke or scratch herself, her stigmata cleared up. To test whether she could go without eating food, blood samples were taken and her salt levels were tested. When she entered the hospital, her salt levels were normal. When she maintained only a liquid diet while in the hospital, she lost a significant amount of weight and her salt levels declined, suggesting she needed to eat food. A panel of 3 psychiatrists concluded that she suffered from hysteria and repressed sexual anxiety. And her seizures that she had were just long repressed sexual orgasms. I don't know what's up with this. I'm not making this up. This is really in the report. I don't know where this comes from. I will tell you, I generally will accept the idea that her stigmata in the food thing. I understand that under those conditions, it's not going to happen. I get that. I'm curious how accurate this psychiatry is to like modern day. We typically don't use the word hysteria anymore. Like that's kind of a that's really kind of a prejudice against women thing. So I don't know if this is accurate or this is like a really sexist way of handling this. So I don't know. A priest sent by the bishop oversaw the whole thing. and said that all the things that Marianne had been doing were nothing more than a disgusting performance. Many of Marianne's followers objected to the whole thing and said supernatural phenomena cannot be studied using normal medical tests. But, that's what you'd
fair,
say. In August 1954, so this is now 2 years after the medical test, Marianne is continuing to talk to the Virgin Mary. She's not doing big public performances anymore, but she's getting regular messages.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells her two closest followers, Henry Swan, the head of the Chamber of Commerce, and Clara Hermans, to write an account. Henry Swan agreed, and he compiled 4 volumes of all the statements that the Virgin Mary had told Marianne.
And this is like a published book?
You can get this, yeah.
Really?
Yep. The bishop continues to condemn them. In February 1959, the Van Hoof home burned down. Don't know what's up with that, but the 4 volumes of material were published. It was called My Work with Nisida. They created their own company to publish it. The company is called For My God and My Country, Incorporated. The president of the group was lumber dealer Ray Pritzel, who also worked as Marianne's bodyguard, and claimed that he needed to be her full-time bodyguard because communists were constantly trying to assassinate her. This corporation, in addition to running the shrine, also owned a real estate company, a publishing company, and a motel. Fred Van Hoof died of leukemia in 1960 at age 67. The funeral was held at St. Francis Catholic Church in Nisida. He left behind his wife, 7 children, 4 brothers in Little Chute and Kaukauna, and a sister who was actually a nun in Milwaukee. So Van Hoof's very Catholic.
Do you have any? I don't think you really said, like, where was Fred on everything while this was going on? Did he get to a point where he's like, "Honey, you got to stop," or
I don't know,
or was he in support of everything she was doing?
I'm so glad you asked because I don't know, and I had the same thought because she's got the Chamber of Commerce backing her up. She's got some other guys going out and promoting her work. I didn't see, and I could be very wrong on this. I mean, there's a lot of material out there, but I didn't see anything where Fred is going out and pumping this up.
Right.
So I'm not saying that he thinks she's faking. I don't know that one way or the other. But he doesn't seem overly enthused.
Right.
Like he is not championing her.
Yeah,
from
he's
what I
not
can tell.
obsessed with this concept.
Yeah.
Like she is,
Yes. So, I mean, I could be wrong. It could just be something I didn't find, but he's very obviously in the background through all this. While the Catholic Church officially is trying to distance itself from Marianne, other groups are moving into Nisida who love this. One is a Catholic breakaway group from Canada called the Apostles of Infinite Love. They set up their U.S. headquarters in Nisida. 3 other priests lived in a mansion in that headquarters. They followed a man named Pope Clement XV, who was a former priest who was kicked out of the Catholic Church. This group still exists.
Really?
To this day.
Do they still have their headquarters in Nisida?
They're still in Nisida.
Really? That is so rad.
There's about a half dozen religious groups, Christian groups, who are not affiliated with like a major denomination that are in Nisida. So this town definitely attracts
This is so
strange,
interesting.
Yeah, I shouldn't say strange. That's not fair. But the
niche.
unusual,
niche religions.
The Bishop of La Crosse died in 1964, and a new bishop was appointed. The new bishop said, "Well, let's start fresh. Let's order a new investigation." He orders a new investigation, which he conducts for a year, and at the end of that, he kind of does the same thing. He condemns the whole thing. He goes, Marianne is full of it. Everybody who follows Marianne is full of it. He places Marianne and 6 of her closest followers under an interdict. I'm not really sure how you say that word, which denies them sacraments in the parish. it's kind of a step below excommunication.
Okay.
So excommunication for Catholics is like you are completely banned. You are not affiliated with the church in any way. This step below it, they're not allowed to receive any of the sacraments, but they still can repent at this point.
Okay.
If they come forward and they say, you know, I confess, I'm sorry, I was wrong, they can be allowed back into the church. Okay. They're not going to do this, but the bishop is leaving that door open for them. The bishop orders the priest in Nisita not to give communion to anyone affiliated with Marianne. It's noted that when he's at Mass, the priest, says, loyal and obedient Catholics may come up and have Mass. Marianne supporters should leave the church. So you either follow Marianne or you follow the Catholic Church. You don't follow both. September 1975, the Cap Times out of Madison did a thorough investigation and found many former supporters who provided lists of Marianne's claims that were easily shown to be lies. On one occasion, she told a group of supporters that she was in the middle of a 10-day fast. This was clearly false because she had publicly had both breakfast and lunch with people earlier that day. The local priest told the newspaper that she was a fraud. She catered to the lunatic fringe of society and would tell people that in addition to the Virgin Mary, she could see St. Michael riding around her yard on invisible horses. They found that the shrine members maintained a large arsenal of automatic weapons to prepare for a Russian invasion, and one member, who was the principal of the local middle school, would not hire teachers who were not members of the shrine. Against the wishes of the teachers, all students were assigned a book called The Hate Factory by Erica Carle. I was going to look this up. I didn't. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
The teachers publicly objected to this, saying this book was garbage and not literature. Shrine members dug their own wells in their backyards because they feared that city water would allow the Russians to have mind control over them. Wow. Because the chemicals in the water would let the Russians listen in on their minds.
You know, that it started out where it was just a lady who thought she saw the Virgin Mary, but now it's starting to get a little off the deep end for me. So,
yeah. So this continues on. They build their own school. They build their own orphanage. They build. Yeah, the orphanage is called the Baby Farm.
That's a terrible name, by the way.
Yeah, they continue to build these things. Now, Marianne dies in 1984, but the shrine is still there. It's still operated. They still have a quarterly newsletter they put out every 3 months or whatever. The newsletter prints things that were in her visions. Mm-hmm. And at this point, I will tell you some things that are in her visions.
Okay.
So the last little bit of my notes here. She would have visions of the Virgin Mary explaining to her detailed plans of Soviet Union invasion of the United States, including the location of Soviet submarines. In one message, Marianne reported that Soviet submarines were sailing up the St. Lawrence Seaway. She got visions of conspiracy theories that outlined Satan's chain of command, where a group of grandmasters oversaw the learned elders of Zion, who were Jewish people called Yids. The elders of Zion controlled communism and Freemasons, which they used to create a one-world government. They said, "This sounds like we don't like Jews, but we do. There are true Jews, and then there are Yids. The Yids are not true Jews because their blood is dirty and mongrelized." That's their word, not mine. She had a vision that white Christians would have to battle black and yellow races because the forces of evil would be inside of the black and yellow races.
Wow.
She had a vision where Mary said that she had gone before George Washington and told George Washington that the new nation would have 5 great wars. the American Revolution, the Civil War, World War I, World War II, and a fifth war that had not yet come. That would be the most terrible of all. Today, if you go to the shrine, right beside a statue of Jesus, you will find statues of George Washington and Abraham Lincoln.
I have got to see the shrine.
Marianne said she could see beings called celestials, and some of them were the spirits of her dead friends and family. Some of her messages said that those who believed would be transported to a paradise that was inside the hollow earth, where they will wait out until the apocalypse blows over. The Shrine's newsletter features a column called The Diamond Star Researcher that discusses a wide range of things, including an unfound planet X, magnetic pole shifts, and secret military technology that is being developed. The newsletter, so the 2014 to the present, the newsletters are online.
Okay.
The newsletters have been around for decades, but 2014 to the present, they have a website. The newsletters are online. I skimmed a few of them. They're fantastic. They are something because like 75% of the newsletters, you wouldn't know the difference between them and like a normal church newsletter. You would not know the difference. They talk about different saints and quote Bible passages, and it's very normal. But then the other 25%, they have quotes of Marianne's messages and then how they relate to today. And they're still followers, so I don't want to knock people, but if you're not a member, they're going to sound weird. they're some very strange messages.
Do we have any idea how many current supporters there are still left out there?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I can't imagine it's very big, but they still have the newsletter. They continue to maintain the shrine and remodel things every so often. So there's at least a small dedicated group.
That is so wild and crazy. And
yeah.
I would just love to see is it people all over the world or is it just Nisita area? It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But it's weird. Yeah. And looking into it, like I said, throughout the years, other religious groups have kind of moved into Nisita because it's built that reputation for being accepting of non-mainstream Christian beliefs. So if you go out there, there's one place, and I didn't write down the name of the place, but they have their own little radio station that, it's not a strong signal. You probably can't hear it if you're not in town. Mm-hmm. But the messages they send are wild. They are some wild messages. It's if you love conspiracy theories, you would love Nisita because they are all in. And I know, and I shouldn't say that. There's many people, probably the majority of people who live in Nisita
that are completely normal.
Completely normal. But then there's the other people who, maybe they're right. Maybe the earth is hollow. Maybe this and that. I don't know. But to me, who is not a believer, it's wild stuff.
I do have to go and read some of these newsletters because I'm fascinated by. I'm a little disappointed that it's this crazy.
Are you?
Yeah, because
I didn't think this was going to amount to much because I was like, yeah, okay, there's a lady and she had visions of Mary. That's not extremely uncommon. People have seen Mary. That happens. This is something.
But when you start hearing what Mary is telling her, I mean, weird. That's all I can say. It's just weird that you, first of all, if I'm Mary and I'm going to come down and communicate with somebody in Nisita, we're not going to be talking about the communists that are going to take over the world and stuff like that. We're going to be talking about more spiritual things. And
that was my thought exactly. I was like, if if I went to this and I was a strong Catholic, that I agree. Like, to me, the Virgin Mary is going to appear, tell us how we can love each other and help each other out and live in the message of Christ and this and that. I don't think Mary's going to show up and say, watch out for the communists. Like, it doesn't strike me as a Virgin Mary, like, a pressing thing she's concerned about.
Yes, I would agree 100%. And I think that's what the hard thing that I struggle with, because this is a relative of mine, and I don't want it to be quite that weird.
Is that the thing?
I don't know if that's really it. It's kind of like you hear this, and to me, this is very interesting. But if you left it at the Virgin Mary and said things that the Virgin Mary was, what to me, in my mind, the Virgin Mary would say, I'd be a lot more better off with it than hearing about communists.
I disappointed you by letting you know your great uncle married a strange woman.
Well, either way, he married a strange woman, but this one's just disturbingly strange in a way, instead of being just kind of like playfully fun. Strange in a way. Does that make sense?
I mean, like, it's still kind of playfully fun. They're not going out causing trouble.
That's true. That is true, but also it's just like, I don't know. It's just too crazy for me. I had to wrap around.
I don't think that these people are necessarily the most stable. Again, I don't mean to belittle them, but there might be some questionable, thought processes there. But they're not hurting anybody.
So I'm really curious, because I find it extremely interesting, the fact that Nisita has become kind of a ground for that people know it's safe to be kind of an on the fringe religion. How did you learn about all these different religions that are in Nisita?
Just in looking this up.
Like it comes they just up happen to mention one here and there.
It specifically comes up that they moved there because of her.
Okay.
Like, even though they're not followers of her, they recognize that the people who follow her might also be open to what they're selling.
It's interesting, because I would love to also learn about some of those religions, just because I want to see what kind of crazy stuff that is out there. You know, like, and just how crazy it is, because this is pretty insane to me.
Yeah, it was like, some of this is on the notes that people can read. But in the process of this, I learned quite a bit about Roman Catholic breakaway groups. It's not something I knew very much. I mean, I was raised Catholic, so I know Catholicism pretty well. But I didn't realize that there were so many groups who don't like the way the church is run, that they broke off and they still consider themselves Catholic, but the church doesn't consider them Catholic. This is a thing. There's a lot of groups who have significant number of members who consider themselves, not the church with the billions of followers. They consider themselves the real Catholic Church.
Now, is there looking into this, are any of these groups to the point where, like, say right here, we're sitting in Appleton, that there would be a church for one of these religions here in Appleton, like, that they're big enough that they would have something here?
Not that I know. I mean, some of them are big enough. They definitely have multiple locations. Some of them even in more than one country.
Okay,
but I don't know of any in Appleton specifically.
Okay, but my point of asking that question was just that some of these do actually get quite large.
Yeah, they have a presence. They're not well known, but they have a presence. Yeah,
interesting. All right. Well, I don't know, man. That one was crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's really not mayhem or murder in this.
There's no mayhem or murder, but this falls along the same lines as the UFO Education Center episode.
Yes.
And they have come to be some of my very favorite episodes, because people with unusual beliefs are way more fascinating to me than murder is. So.
Yeah, you really have, because, like, I was kind of on board with everything until you started talking about what like some of the things that she was saying, Mary was saying.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, now this has just gone like, this is like Mary is like a female version of, what is that guy, like Alex Jones or something?
Yeah,
like,
kind of.
That spreads all these conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what this is, which just kind of, way off of
We
what I thought
don't
it
want to
was.
lose our listeners who also like Alex Jones, though. We got to be careful.
We don't have a problem with Alex Jones, but
Yeah.
but it just, if Alex Jones was out saying that the Virgin Mary was, I mean, it's weird. So
Yeah.
So it's just kind of a crazy story.
Yeah, the communist stuff and some of the racial stuff is really hard to swallow with coming from the Virgin Mary. So,
but then again, at the same time,
but what do I? Maybe the Virgin Mary hates Chinese people. I find that extremely hard to believe. But what do I know?
But you also have to look at, like, it is the 50s.
Yeah,
and isn't that where the communist scare was at top level? So.
100%. Because that's. I didn't even get I'm trying to keep my notes to 4 pages. When I do these, I try to keep them to 4 pages so we don't run into these 2-hour podcasts. But no, like, they freely were promoting Senator Joseph McCarthy, who's Wisconsin senator. In fact, he's a local senator. He's buried right here in Appleton. And he's like the guy who was always promoting the idea that there were communists hiding everywhere, which some people today still say he was right, but some people took what he said and they ran with it to the extreme. So
That is creepy. All right, so do you got anything else for this one?
No,
I think that's enough.
That's good, but if this is interesting to people, I encourage them to look it up because there's a lot out there.
Is there? So, like, when you put your notes on the website for this one, do you, how is this pretty much your notes, or is there a lot more out there?
This is my notes.
Put out there.
This is my notes. I might clean it up a little bit, make sure there's no typos, but no, I don't add more research after the fact.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for taking me down this road, and
you're welcome. Thank you for sending me
that. Yeah, which is really funny. On a side note of this episode is when I told Gavin about this episode, he looked it up on Google, and he's like, "It's weird, like." The link that I clicked on had already been clicked on, which meant I looked this up.
They have a Wikipedia page, and the Wikipedia was already purple. Like, it had gone from blue to purple, which meant I had read the Wikipedia at some point. No recollection of doing that, but it's also, I guess, not really a surprise that I would have.
Yeah, and maybe this was prior to the podcast, because I can't imagine if you would have stumbled upon this, why you would have not done it for the podcast.
The only reason I wouldn't have done it for the podcast is from reading the Wikipedia. There's absolutely no Fox Cities connection.
Right.
They make no reference to her ever having a connection to Kaukauna. The only hint of that is her last name is Van Hoof, which, unless you're from here, you wouldn't know that was like a Kaukauna name.
Did you get excited when you saw that it was a Van Hoof, and you're like, God, there's got to be a connection to Kaukauna?
I thought there was a connection to Kaukauna as soon as you said it was a relative. That's okay. Because at that point, I'm like, I don't think. I mean, not that I know, your great grandparents, but I'm guessing they probably weren't from Necedah.
So, all right. With that, we'll wrap this episode up, and we will be. Should we give a little, or actually, do we know what the next episode is?
I do know what the next episode is. So the next episode was going to be the other Eric episode. That's actually going to get bumped down the road a little bit. The next episode is going to be as we're recording this right now, it's a talk I'm giving next Tuesday. By the time listeners hear this, it'll probably already have happened. And it's about the guy who ran the Greeno Mansion from the 1940s to the 1960s. I felt it's appropriate for the podcast because a big part of what he was doing would now be considered grave robbing.
Okay, yes. Well, if that's the case, I think that's a prime episode for this podcast.
Yeah, so kind of, another one of those cases where a thing I have to do for my regular day job anyway can double as a podcast episode.
So, and this is going to be something you're doing at the library?
It is, but again, by the time people hear this episode, it'll already have happened.
Yeah, so never mind. All right. Well, with that, then we'll wrap this episode up, and I look forward to the next episode. Actually, I think that's going to be a pretty good one too. So
Yeah.
So we will see everybody in 2 weeks on the next episode, and thanks for the continued support of this podcast.
Right. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Fox City's Murder and Mayhem. Join us in 2 weeks for another exciting episode of Murder and Mayhem.